inviting me. I'm an engineer and I feel like in a different domain here. But since I come here often, it's almost my home away from home. But my approach is rather practical. I'm not going to talk about legal aspect or normative, but as actually practicing research and data-related research, I will share with you my point of view and my experience. So when Amir first approached me, he just gave me the title of this meeting, which was on the right approach to the right to research, and I suggested my title, Freedom of Research in the Data Era, Illusion or Reality. So I didn't know that you are going to focus on data, that I learned later with the recent emails. So I don't need to show you this slide, and I'm apologizing again for my slides being so simple compared to you. As I said, I'm just an engineer. So in the past, the major barrier for freedom of research in university was the availability of resources. Once we had enough money, we could get the equipment we wanted, we could have the student, the staff, and we could do whatever we want. This is not the case anymore. Now, not only in your meetings, but also in any topic within the academic research, data became a key issue. And this meeting is all about it. It doesn't matter if you call it AI or machine learning or data science or deep learning, it is all depend on data. So my question is, does access to data affect the freedom of research, and if so, how? And the answer is actually yes, and then we move on to ask how do we cope with it. But first I want to distinguish between the three types of data, which will be referred to as the first-party data, second-party data, and third-party data. And this is just an illustration of something I read in one of the papers. The idea is that first-party data is the data that comes from the research, like in the old days, data that we scientists either created in our experiment or with collaborators. So this was there because research is all about facts and data, so it is always there. But the rules that the first-party data is playing accordingly is the openness of academic research. So at one extreme, we know when we knew how to deal with it. The second-party data is data from public organizations. Again, this is not new. It has been open to researchers under various arrangements over the years, like in Israel with the Central Bureau of Statistics. We always had access to this kind of data. Sometimes it was not so simple, but at least it was open for research. Definitely it needs revision and standardization, but this is not new. What is new, from my point of view, is the third-party data, which comes from a private organization. And this is the new arena, which is our challenge. When we are talking about data for research, very simplifying the situation, I see two dimensions to this issue. One, which is not negligible, is the issue of data management and standardization. I will say a little bit more about my own research, and I have a unique and very important database from 2004, but I never paid attention to its management, and it is almost useless. So it's important to do also this, and as you probably know, the big companies, they pay a lot of human resources to arrange and standardize the data, so access. So this is one issue. But here I want to focus on the other issue, which is ownership and access to rights. And this is what we are actually more concerned about. You can talk about regulation or legislation or whatever you legal people deal with. We may talk about agreements like a data transfer agreement, the same as we had with material transfer agreement, and we had it in research all the time. or some business arrangements. So this is the challenge. Just to put it in a nice slide, only one, not as beautiful as yours. If we are talking academic research, before we needed money, and then we could produce knowledge. It could be IP, it could be general knowledge, and we also produce data. But this data was under the principle of open research, and it was shared. Because, you know, the principle of academic research that you need to be able to redo the experiment or to evaluate the results, so it was open like a parachute. And if it is not open, it is crashed, right? And then there is the governments or the public organization, and in the past there used to be a source for money and for regulation. Now it's an important source for data which I defined as a second party data. And now this is the new arena, as I said, corporates, the industry. Again, they produce money, and sometimes with respect to technology transfer scheme, they used to be connected to academic research. Now we also have the data as a new factor. As I said, I'm going to be very practical, and I looked at what is practically being done to get access to this data. And just, again, it's very simplified, and actually with two colleagues from law schools, not from engineering, Orit Fishman-Afori and Sharon Barzi, we are looking at this together. We found out that, generally speaking, you can talk about three types of solution to get access to data. The first one, to which I gave the gold medal, is the individual solutions. And I will demonstrate how I do it in my personal research. But once you use personal relation with the sources of data, you get access to the data you need. It can be through research collaboration. You may pay for the access by co-authorship on your papers. This is very individual, and it works. Okay? The second solution are kind of institutional solutions, like formal agreements with the specific data providers, like HMOs. Actually, under the COVID we saw it. It's not as common as I believed it would have been, but it is possible and it is sometimes done. There are also appropriate technology transfer schemes, which share even royalties and other benefits of technology transfer. And also there is arrangement on the institutional level about industry-based graduate students. Sometimes, I don't know, Google or Apple or others send graduate students, and this student comes with the access to the data, which is nice, but then it needed to be arranged. And then there are national or even international strategies for regulation, etc. And again, you can see the gold medal went to the individual solution, then the silver one to the institutional solution, and somehow the other strategies are from the third out of three levels, so it gets the bronze. You mentioned technology transfer, and there are many experts about it. Again, very simplified way to put it. If you look at the relationship between government, industry, academy, the triple helix, we used to put it as a very simple relation where the main signal that go around is money. Okay? So government support universities, and university can translate this money into knowledge, especially intellectual property. Under technology transfer scheme, it may commercialized by the industry to produce more money. Some goes to the government as taxes, some comes as royalties to the academy, and it works one way or the other. Now there are a new signal, which is very important. This is the yellow one, this is the data, and it changes the whole scheme. And this new scheme needs to be reevaluated. I don't have solution, I just put it as a challenge, because it's not as simple as directional, as linear, the way it was here. Now it is more convolved, and there are several directions, like do you pay to data with IP or IP rights? I don't know. Open questions. I don't talk a lot about national strategies because this is your expertise. I just want to mention that I was in Brussels in a meeting 2 weeks ago, and again they talked about this European framework, and they just gave me a link to 2 reports I was not aware of. So if you are not aware of, here are the links. One report which is a study on the Open Data Directive, Data Governance and Data Act and their possible impact on research. So this is very relevant to what we are talking about here. And the other one is a study on the EU copyright and related rights and access to the reuse of data. And here, especially, they were referring to its effect on the freedom of research. So if you don't know about it, look at it. So now I have like 5 minutes to talk about my own research, and this is the exciting part, right? So my own research is about how to transform communication signal into environmental monitoring, into weather measurements. The physics is very simple. Some of you who are old enough still remember that when we had TV sets with an antenna on the roof, when it was rainy, we used to see it on the screen, right? So electromagnetic waves are affected by weather, especially by rain. Like here we have a transmitter and a receiver in a wireless communication signal, and it is affected by the propagation channel. And all modern communication systems, they record and log all the features of the signal. So our idea was we can take these features, like the signal level, and by smart signal processing, we can extract the information about the propagation channel from there. And then we transform any communication link into a virtual linkage. Very simple, but when we came with this idea, it was innovative enough, so it was published in Science magazine back in 2006. And since then, my research group is dealing with it, but we couldn't do anything without getting measurements from cellular companies, which are private companies. So this is an example where exciting research is very much dependent on data. Just to give you an idea of what we can do, look at Israel, for example. This is a map of Israel with these communication links, which are set by all cellular companies in Israel, Cellcom, Pelephone, Partner, etc. And you see it covers the earth. I always say that in Israel I never put borders because of political reasons, but it covers the state of Israel with a very dense sensors. And then you can build from the signal which is extracted between each receiver and transmitter. The signal looks like this. You can actually build bottom-up, you can build rain maps, which are very accurate, much more accurate than radar maps. And in Israel, the radar doesn't work for, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years now. And it costs nothing, I mean, in terms of equipment. So this is kind of opportunistic sensing. Not only in Israel, we were the first with the idea, but this is, for example, from a Dutch group in the Netherlands. And here they compare the rain map, which was created by radar and by our technology, and you can see the similarity. And also, they are not exactly the same, and this one, I say, is more accurate. So it's exciting, right? But it very much depends on data from third party. And because this is such an important issue, there is a European funded action, which is called a cost action. It is called the OpenSense, Opportunistic Precipitation Sensor Network. And this cost action is all about how to get access to data. So there are more than 100 participants for more than 31 countries in Europe. And the objective of this action is to improve access to continental opportunistic sensor observation. And as you can see, if you look at the work packages, the first one is data. Data, data, data. 3 minutes are sufficient. How does it work in my research group? As I said before, in my research group, we are based on personal relationship with many companies. You see here, all of these are private companies. Cellular companies in Israel, Ericsson in Sweden, other companies, smart cities, satellite, all of them provide us with measurements, with data, which is essential. Without it, we can do nothing. Based on pro bono, nothing. We never sign any, you need it for make a living out of signing agreement, but for us it was just for the sake of research. And it works well. We have a very active research group, and if you're interested in the webpage, then you can read all about it. But when you want to do something with it, and this is a paper which was published like a year ago, from proof of concept to proof of value, approaching third-party data to operational workflow of national meteorological services, then it's not as simple. So I don't have time to go into this paper, but you may have the reference. But these are our colleagues from the Netherlands, from Holland, and they actually put the difficulties with access to data. Once they have our research results and they are happy with it, they want to implement it, it's a different story. It's not like getting it from pro bono from companies. So just to conclude, as I said, the individual solution and also the institutional solution, it works for local research, like my groups and others. But once you need to scale up, you need probably national strategies, which are your job to arrange. My last slide is always the acknowledgement to all these companies that provide me with measurements over the years, and I mean it. They don't have to do it, but they do it over the years. So I put it here, and I appreciate the cooperation. Actually, it is nice, and this is one of the relative advantage of Israel being a small place. You always know somebody that you can approach all these countries, and you get it. Thank you.
Thank you.